News. News is broken, ladies and gentlemen. News is broken. The offensive coordinator was finally named. And I interpret this as, boy, it is the dawn of Nick. It's the dawn of Nick. How about him? He goes, I want my guy. Now, it took a little while to consider it. But boom. He gets what he wants right now. It's good to be a Super Bowl winner where you go, I want this guy. He's my guy. I brought him in. He's ready for the challenge. He's my guy. All right, Nick. Now, last year we wouldn't have taken any recommendations from you, but since we won a Super Bowl, I guess we got to defer to you that Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator, will do you right. Now, this brings in Kevin Patullo, joined at the hip with one Nick Serriani. We didn't like the way Nick Serriani made calls. I assume that there's not going to be autonomy here with Kevin Patullo. This is going to be Nick Sirianni production. And, at this point, I am not going to be critical of Nick Sirianni. What he says goes right now. I'm going to sit back and go, dude, you have earned the right to do this. I don't know if Kevin Patullo is a good hire. I have no idea. I can't say he's a bad hire. He's a hire. We will see during the season. I tell you what, though, Sirianni does put himself on the griddle with this move in that he heartily endorses this guy. So this guy better get off to a really good start. This guy better know what he's doing. Or we go back to doubting Nick Sirianni and his choices. So I don't think there's any question that the coordinators that came in last year really had no influence with Nick Sirianni, that this was a Jeff Lurie, Howie Roseman thing. You got these guys because we think they're the best. And they probably considered doing the same thing this time, but they said, we can't. We just can't. The guy won a Super Bowl. He's riding high. Nick the Quick. He's doing everything right now. So if he wants Kevin Patullo, we got to trust him, just like we trusted us when we picked Nick in the first place. Bill Colarulo, your man is riding high. It is the season of Nick.
My man is riding high, but I'm not so sure that this was just a unilateral decision by Nick Sirianni. I mean, everybody knew once the postseason hit that Kellen Moore was most likely going to take the Saints head coaching job. So even though he doesn't officially take the job until after the Super Bowl, I'm sure the Eagles have been discussing what the plan would be for the offensive coordinator for weeks now. And even though Kevin Patullo is Nick's guy, I'm sure Howie Roseman signed off on it, Jeffrey Lurie signed off on it, and even Jalen Hurts, although publicly he didn't come out with a ringing endorsement, I'm sure he signed off on it. And you're right, we're not going to really know if this is a good hire until the season starts. I really wanted someone from the outside. I did. I wanted some fresh ideas. I wanted a guy who's called plays in the past. But there are positives to this hire. You get the continuity. You got a guy who is familiar with the personnel. He's been here since 2020. He understands Jalen Hurts' skill set. He understands all of the skill set on the offensive side of the football. And I dove deep. I love my yellow legal pads. So I dove deep. Kevin Patullo has been a pass game specialist for 4 seasons. 5 seasons. 4 here, once in Indianapolis. His offenses don't necessarily finish in the top of the league in terms of passing yards, but a positive, he finishes in almost the bottom every year in pass attempts. So he understands a run-heavy approach, but yet top 10, 4 out of 5 times in yards per attempt. Second in 2022 in yards per attempt. So he understands a run-heavy scheme and taking advantage of your passing opportunities even when they're limited, which I think is the exact formula for success with the Eagles team.
So what we talked about yesterday is that it wouldn't be a really difficult job for a new offensive coordinator coming in here. They have a template on how they want to play football, and that maybe that'll change up the road, but certainly not going to change right now. You take advantage of what you do best. So this guy is there. He's in the rooms. He sees what they're doing. I wouldn't think he would have these radical ideas to change. So from that standpoint, it's probably a good hire. But he hasn't called plays under the hot lights of the NFL regular season or playoffs. So
he has.
There's always that.
Well, a lot of people still have the post-traumatic stress of what happened in 23 when you promoted Brian Johnson. But these guys are a lot different. Brian Johnson came into the NFL and only had 2 years of experience as a quarterback coach in Philadelphia. That's not Kevin Patullo. He's been in the NFL with 15 years of experience, and he's been a pass game coordinator, as I said, 5 different times. So he's got a lot more experience than what Brian Johnson has. And Brian Johnson only coached under Nick Sirianni. That's not Kevin Patullo. I mean, Kevin Patullo, he was with the Chiefs, the Bills, the Titans, the Jets, the Colts. He's got a lot more experience. We'll see if he can call plays, and if he can, it will be an issue because as much as I like Sirianni, Sirianni's a terrible play caller. So if this doesn't work with Patullo calling plays, I'm not sure who's going to do it because it can't be Nick. I don't like Nick as a play caller at all.
Well, you're getting Nick as a play caller, aren't you? Let me just read a couple of the things here. I was reading a story today where Nick puts his arm around Patullo and says, see this guy? This guy is a star. And that's Kevin Patullo. So these guys are really close, and I assume that if you're the head coach and you're close to somebody, you go, hey, I like to call this play here, I got to call this play there. Like I said, there's not going to be autonomy here. These two guys are joined at the hip. More than ever, we look at Serriani, okay, he was separate from Kellen Moore. He had some influence. Kellen Moore was making the calls. But this is a complete, not an opposite, but certainly closer to Serriani back calling plays, don't you think?
I don't think so, because when Sirianni gave up the play calling to Shane Steichen back in 2021, he was acknowledging he wasn't that great of a play caller. So even though I guess he had a say with Brian Johnson, I don't think he's necessarily calling plays. And with Kellen Moore, we saw them mic'd up. He has influence on what's done. Yeah. He has influence on whether you're aggressive, whether you're going to run or throw, or certain plays he'll sign off on. But I do think he trusts this guy, Kevin Patullo. As much as he'll be involved in the offensive game plan, I'm talking about Nick, I don't think he's going to be the play caller. I think you'll see a very similar approach to what they had with Kellen.
All right. I don't know if people have a lot of over-the-top reactions to this. It's pretty mundane hire by the Philadelphia Eagles. But let's get to Jalen Hurts, who knows Patullo. Patullo's been there now for a while. Been very consistent presence there with Jalen Hurts, even though he really hasn't had any influence on Jalen Hurts, really. So here's what Jalen had to say. When was this? When did he say this?
Last week.
Before the Super Bowl, right?
Before the Super Bowl, he said this, and certainly before.
Oh, no, it was clean out day. Locker clean out day. So it was after the Super Bowl, before the parade. Yeah, right before the parade.
Let's see what he had to say about Patullo.
Kevin Patullo's never been he'd have a different role. So it's hard to compare, that role to this role because his job is going to demand something totally different of him. And I have a lot of confidence in him and what he's shown. However, I know, over the years I've learned that's out of my jurisdiction. And so kind of just taking things as they come and trying to go out there and be the best I can be and just learn and evolve.
I'm trying to get a message there. See, it kind of went back and forth. His first instinct was, Kevin Patullo has never been a main guy. Like, that's a weird first instinct to have. And then he says, but I have confidence in him, and this is out of my jurisdiction. He goes, he's never called plays. I have confidence in him.
But I'm not making a decision.
It's out of my jurisdiction. I can only be the best I can be.
Yeah.
So that's not a ringing endorsement. Doesn't matter.
No, and the way I interpret it, because I've listened to that sound a few times now, because my knee-jerk reaction was, wow, he doesn't want Kevin Patullo. But then as I listened to it a couple of times, I just think Jalen didn't want an opinion one way or another. I feel like he's trying to say, because if you remember, he kind of threw his support behind Brian Johnson 2 years ago. That didn't really work out too well. So I think this time he's like, look, he's never done it. I think he can. It's not up to me. I'm just going to do what I do. Like I think he does not want to have an opinion either way because he doesn't want it to be either held against him or, think about if they didn't hire Patullo. If he comes out and says, oh, yeah, I want Patullo, and then they don't hire him, now, is Jalen Hurts angry?
Yeah, but hold on. There's a way to answer questions, there's a way not to answer questions. Like, he was asked the question.
But he's also a robot, Mike.
Well, I get it, but isn't the answer, well, yeah, Kevin's a good guy, and if he's the guy, I'll have confidence in him. His first instinct was, well, Kevin Patullo, he's never been a main guy. Like, that's his first instinct. That is, you don't find that telling?
Well, I did. And that's why I said the first time I listened to it, I'm like, oh, man. But the more I think about Jalen Hurts, I think he tries so hard to not give the media anything. I think that's what he was doing there. But you're right. It's not necessarily comforting that his first words were, well, he's never done it before, and this would be a change for him.
Okay.
We'll see, man. But look, don't we have to trust right now?
What?
Don't we have to trust the Eagles at this point? When you just win a Super Bowl, because I'm not happy about it either. I wanted them to go outside the organization. But it's like you just won a Super Bowl.
Trusting Serriani is what you trusted. Trusting the Eagles. They deferred to Nick. He wanted this guy. There's no question about it. Now, we'll talk about what it means, but there's clearly, I'm reminded of that scene in Scarface where Tony Montana has the big statue, "The world is mine," and he's got the big world. The world is his right now. The world is Nick Sirianni's. It's the season of Nick. Here's how you get in. 610-632-0975. It is General Knowledge Thursday. We're carrying it over from yesterday, and we've added a prize to it to sweeten the pot. We'll tell you all about that after this. Don't go away.
Hey, everybody, it's Bill Colarulo. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel so you can engage during the show, and you're not going to want to miss all the content that we post. It's not only the live videos, it's videos after the fact. It's our shorts. It's all the content you want as a Philadelphia sports fan. Looking forward to connecting.